Rome and the Empire of Debt. The Intertwined Story of Economy and War 1. Introduction. The Rome we see and the reality behind the curtain. When we think of Rome, we usually picture determined legions, powerful commanders, and an unbreakable will. Yet historical reality reaches far beyond romanticized stories. The true force behind this vast empire and its centuries-long dominance was not merely the sharpness of swords, but the economic system that financed the hands forging and wielding those swords. Rome was built not only on battlefields, but also within ledgers and debt agreements. Understanding that an empire survives not by courage alone, but through an enormous financial organization, is key to understanding the course of history. 2. The hidden cost of war and its logistical demands. Contrary to heroic tales, war is first and foremost a logistical nightmare. Keeping thousands of soldiers stationed along borders and deployed on campaigns created an immense economic burden. For Rome to keep this machinery moving, it had to manage the following expenses with precision: food supply for soldiers, regular salary payments, production of weapons and equipment, road construction for military transportation, establishment of army camps, feed for horses, timber procurement for siege machinery, labor and logistical services. 3. From citizen army to professional military. Rome's early strength came from citizen soldiers tied to their land. These men left their plows, took up their swords, and returned to their farms once campaigns ended. However, as conquests expanded farther and wars stretched over years, this traditional system began to crack in a painful way. Farmers who spent years at the front often returned to neglected land and overwhelming debt. This paradox made the transition to a professional military unavoidable. The state now began financing soldiers directly. Although wages were not particularly high, the security of regular payment in an uncertain era gradually shifted soldiers' loyalty away from civic duty and toward the state, and toward generals who promised rewards and spoils. 4. War as an investment and the cycle of taxation. For Roman leadership, war evolved beyond a defensive necessity and became a profitable economic sector. Each new conquest meant new taxpayers, cheap slave labor, and valuable mineral resources. This created a self-sustaining cycle. Rome generated capital through war and used that capital to expand its military and finance further wars. Yet this model carried a dangerous flaw. The system could only survive through constant expansion, through the continued return on investment. 5. The role of the elite. Debt and investment mechanisms. Whenever the treasury proved insufficient during prolonged wars, Rome's wealthy elite stepped in. Their loans to the state were not acts of patriotism, but strategic investments. In return, they received not only interest payments, but also powerful privileges such as tax collection rights. Through this system, elites were often able to extract far more wealth from provinces than what ultimately reached the state treasury. Power no longer rested solely in the Senate, but increasingly in the hands of financiers who controlled these economic mechanisms and cooperated with ambitious generals. 6. System failure. Currency debasement and inflation. When Rome eventually ran out of new territories to conquer and expansion stalled, its investment-driven system collided with reality. Even as revenues slowed, military and bureaucratic expenses continued rising. To close the gap, Roman authorities adopted a dangerous strategy, gradually reducing the silver content of their coins. At first, this hidden devaluation went largely unnoticed, but over time, the declining value of money fueled inflation and weakened public trust in the system. Roman currency could no longer represent the power that once stood behind it. 7. The social and economic burden, the other side of the coin. The cost of economic crisis did not fall equally across society. Wealthy elites with land and slaves protected their assets through tangible value, while ordinary citizens suffered beneath rising taxes and shrinking purchasing power. Seeking to prevent unrest and maintain public calm, the state turned increasingly towards spectacles and welfare, bread and circuses. While this temporarily eased social tension, it deepened the fiscal burden and created a dangerous dependency that gradually disconnected parts of society from productive economic life. 8. Conclusion. Mirrors from history to the present. Rome's story quietly reminds us of the limits faced by systems built on endless expansion and uncontrolled debt. In today's world, economies shaped by debt-financed deficits and growing defense expenditures sometimes move in rhythms that echo Rome's experience. History is not merely a collection of dusty pages. Financial literacy is not only about investment tools, it is a